time. But we're gonna get started shortly. We already have a few of our speakers. Parrot, how's your day been? I'm
Hey,
hearing
I'm good,
bits
man.
and
I'm just trying to get
pieces.
my
Oh,
my audio working. So give me a sec.
yeah, cool. Sounds good. No worries. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one. We're gonna be breaking down some of these matchups. Might do a little bit of general stock talk. May take some questions even from the audience. I know that we're going to have a couple more speakers will be coming on. I know Jonah Lupton's going to be on probably a little closer to 8:30. He is in the gym. If you have seen what he looks like on Instagram, you understand why he's in the gym. That man is swole. Max knows what I'm talking about. Can't wait to see Max's guns fresh out of the gym. They're going to be fun. Fat Baby Funds, what do you think of this whole crypto shoot up while we're just waiting on a couple more speakers? Then we're going to get started. But before we do get started, we had a massive crypto shoot over the last couple of days. Dogecoin running, Ethereum, new all-time highs. Fat Baby, I know you're at least a Bitcoin guy, a little crypto guy like me. What's on it?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of seems correlated with the Coinbase IPO. I mean, just Coinbase coming out so hot, sort of shows where the crypto market is at overall. I mean, and telling where the crypto market is going is always tough because, it's so volatile. But it's a good sign. It's a good sign that Coinbase is so strong and that the crypto is doing well, but you never know when the bottom's going to fall out is the hard part. So you just got to play it cool and keep holding.
Absolutely. I was pretty much looking at Bitcoin and doing, I mean, as much technical analysis as you can do on a crypto over the last few days. And I was looking at it building that base at 60. And I was like, oh, it looks very tasty. So when it was clicking around 59.60, I bought a little bit more a few days back with a nice little payoff. Um, Also, I'm in Ethereum as well and Bitcoin Cash, which is back up to 800. I got into Bitcoin Cash around 400. So I've held through a couple spikes. I know some people say it's a pump and dump, is what it is. But I do want to get started shortly. What's up, Kenny Lay? Nice to have you in here. Real quick to all my speakers and to any of my listeners who would just love to do me a huge favor. It's always nice when we can get more people into these spaces. We're going to have some really big speakers tonight. We're going to go over some market madness stuff. We're going to be talking about stocks, crypto, some of our finales. So if everybody could go ahead and just go to the bottom of your spaces, there is a share button there. You can go and share via tweet. You can copy the link, invite your best friend. If you share it out and you tag me, that would be fantastic. I'm definitely going to probably like that, retweet it, throw it some love. It would just be awesome if we could get out, get as many people in here. And we're going to start in about a minute. So hang tight, and I will start laying into my speakers for some valuable information for all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and share that myself. And hopefully all of you would do the same. Cool, we already got about 150 people in here. So that's pretty nice. I think we're going to get probably between about 350 to 500 in here tonight, estimating. So that's what we're looking for.
Oh, filling up fast, man. That's a good job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. A little bit of marketing, some fire speakers. What more can you ask for? So I don't want to waste anyone's time. So honestly, I want to get right into it so that everybody can listen up. So stock market news, welcome in too. How was your day before? Oh, cool. Glad the audio is working. Yeah, your audio is working, Parrot. Stock market news, is your audio working?
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Yeah.
Is your audio working?
What's up, guys?
Hey,
yeah, I think I'm good. You guys can hear me. I see the little purple bar.
Sweet. Good to hear from you. Honestly, I would love to have you kick things off because what happened last week was we tried to have this call and then it wasn't working and Twitter Spaces was out, and you were actually in the middle of talking about Buzz and you were breaking down some of your thoughts on the Buzz ETF. And following up on that, since then, Buzz has earned itself a spot in the Final Four. So for anyone who's unfamiliar, you can check out Market Madness at wolf.financial/brackets. So that's the link in my bio. And then if you go to the page in my bio, there's a little bracket thing on the top right. And you can check out the brackets and you can see we've actually been running now for over a month, a whole entire bracket Market Madness, March Madness for stocks, ETFs, and cryptos. And we've come down to the Final Four. So it needs to be updated with the Final Four. But essentially, the Final Four are Bitcoin versus Palantir and Facebook versus Buzz. So Buzz was going up against PSTH, who had taken out ARK last time we were chatting. So Stock Market News was breaking down for us some of the Buzz holdings, some of the thought pattern behind it, how it was going to beat PSTH, and now it has. Let's talk about Buzz versus Facebook. And keep in mind, Facebook only beat Baba by 6 votes. So it's going to be fascinating to see this matchup. So I'd love to turn the floor over to you to talk a little bit more about this Buzz and how it's not really what people think it is when you look at the holdings, and why it has a great chance to maybe move into the finals here.
No, yeah, I think that that's a great way to start it off. Is like there's two big misconceptions with Buzz of like people thinking, thinking it's one thing and it really is something different. So I think that I've said this a couple times, but I really feel that Buzz is, made to win this social sentiment competition. Buzz is literally an ETF comprised of the most talked about stocks. What Vanek and Buzz did is they, instead of just taking the most talked about stocks, they took the stocks with the most positive conversation about it. So they kind of take that extra layer of, filtering to get you just the top talked about stocks and the top talked about stocks with the most positive mentions behind it. And I think that another important thing to realize is like what type of stocks are in this ETF. It's not, the tiny GameStop, whatever penny stocks. I have it actually right in front of me. They do put out a lot of great information on their website, investwithbuzz.com. But just the average market cap of the stock in the ETF is $272 billion. The PE ratio is 37.5, and the dividend yield for the ETF is right around 1.6%. I don't believe they've paid a dividend yet since being public or since the ETF launched, but I think that should be coming soon. I don't know exactly when. And then I think that moving on to what the holdings are, just kind of talking it through, I am looking at the rebalancing in front of me, so it has changed a little bit. But the top 10 holdings, the holdings with the largest weight in the portfolio are Tesla, Apple, Virgin Galactic, Amazon, AMD, DraftKings, Boeing, Square, Plug Power, and Disney. So, everyone here knows those names. Those are extremely popular names. A lot of them were in this competition and made it very far. I know Square just had a tough loss to Palantir on the other side of the bracket. But yeah, so overall, I would encourage a lot of you guys to either go over to the website and check out the entire list of holdings. You're going to recognize a lot of the stocks on there. Even Facebook is in there at actually 2.3% weight at the rebalancing. I'm going to go and check what it is now, but it's one of the larger holdings. Yeah, and I think that some advantages versus Facebook. It has a dividend. That's very popular. People like to love that a lot. And I found it interesting when I was looking at the bracket that on the boomer side, the two finalists both didn't have a dividend, which is very interesting. But yeah, so Buzz does have a dividend. A lot of people do love to hate on Facebook. I am a Facebook shareholder, but the main platform loves to get a lot of hate online. So, why vote for Facebook when you can vote for Buzz? Oh, last thing, I would also say that having Dave Portnoy backing the ETF is a pretty big deal, especially when it's like a social sentiment ETF and he is one of the big names on social media. But yeah, I think that's good.
Isn't it
I like
ironic
that.
Dave's ETF holds DraftKings?
And it held Buzz before. I think it holds more DraftKings than Buzz though. Than Penn, I'm sorry.
That's fascinating. That's a good point. Appreciate that, Parrot. So real quick, we just heard the Buzz side of things. So I just called up Luke. Luke's my Facebook guy. He brings the knowledge on it pretty often. He's also going to be chatting on our space on Friday. So Luke, Stock Market News just made several good points as to the backing behind Buzz. Got that dividend, was able to move through, hold several really popular holdings. How does Facebook move on to the finals here and beat the power that is Buzz?
When it comes to Facebook, Facebook is a powerhouse. It owns the social media game. They're the leader, not to go too in depth, but you take a look at earnings and they continue to deliver solid numbers. They saw 33% revenue growth last quarter. Their user base continues to expand. Their MAUs and DAPs continue to grow. And when it comes to advertising, which is pretty much their game, social media advertising, where the core of their revenues come from. 31% growth year over year last quarter. Management continues to do well when it comes from risk. When it comes to risk on the government front, the government doesn't really seem to do much, even though they like to hold all of these hearings. So overall, Facebook is one of those names that I don't really think is going anywhere. I think it has a bright future, especially as social media grows. And especially now, multimedia, social media is a core of really how our society works. And therefore, I think that Facebook has definitely a strong footing in the future. Therefore, I think a lot of people are going to continue to be positive on it. I don't really see much of a reason for Facebook to go the other direction when it comes to sentiment.
Very interesting. Yeah, Facebook has definitely had a swing back on the positive area, obviously correlated with that stock jump as well, and them having less breaches of privacy into people's homes, which is always nice. Now, I do want to just real quick before we move on to the next one. Thank you, Parrot. I just want to introduce myself. So my name is Gav Blacksberg. I'm the COO at Wolf Financial, and I'm the host of several shows on Twitter Spaces, whether those be Market Madness, the Weekly Howl, which is my Friday space, and also Stock Center, which is my space on Tuesday. So if you enjoy Twitter Spaces, you like this ability to kind of see more into people's thoughts and opinions, emotions, their voice, feel free to just check out my profile. I would love to have more listeners. Oh, Uncommon, we're hearing a lot from you. A lot of hot mic there. And would just love to continue to interact with you all. Honestly, it really makes my day to interact with people. I plan on having more spaces in the future where listeners will be able to come up and speak as well. I want to take more questions from listeners and do spaces entirely around that. So if you're interested in participating in spaces, stuff like that, make sure to continue to just interact with me. I try to interact back as much as possible. I basically spend 8 hours a day to 10 hours a day on Twitter. That's my job. So I'll be sure to get back to you. But since we have him here, one of my favorites, Parrot, I'm going to need a little eulogy for SE. So what happened here? We went ahead. SE was the powerhouse. It beat Apple, it beat Twitter, and then it fell to Palantir. So talk to me about SE, why it's still a great investment, but maybe what happened there with Palantir and what's going on with PLTR.
And I think the SE crowd was just busy counting their cash and forgot to go vote. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. I think the long-term thesis for, I mean, really, I love both. I love Palantir as well. I'm a stockholder in both, so I can't talk bad about it. I'm just a little shocked, a little shell-shocked that C Limited didn't beat Palantir, and I'm even more shocked that they beat Square. It was that was even a bigger shock. So,
Speak.
Yeah, I can talk. How's everybody doing?
We're living the dream. So we've got I think we got a problem here, right? So Square was this powerhouse, and for those who are familiar with Jonah, obviously Jonah has a lot of sway on here. Jonah was backing two stocks in here, and make sure that you stay on for everyone that's a big fan of Jonah, because Jonah is going to be joining us at around 15 to 20 minutes from now. He's just getting in his gains at the gym currently, hydrating with Celsius, long CELH. And Jonah was backing both DMTK and CELH. DMTK and Square beat both of them. Square beat CELH, it beat DMTK, and then it lost to Palantir. So what's going on? How do you think that happened? How are you feeling when that matchup was coming around? Did you think that Palantir had a chance against Square? Obviously, it had beaten Tesla, it had beaten SE. So what was your mindset going into that match? And now you have Palantir going up against Bitcoin. For those who aren't familiar, I pulled Bitcoin versus GME and it tied. And I ran it again and Bitcoin won by like 10 votes. So wow. You still got that Bitcoin side of Square. So what's your, I guess, walk me through your thought pattern of Square having this dominant run, now losing to PLTR. Now PLTR goes up against Bitcoin.
Yeah. I was really disappointed. I thought Square had a good chance. That we were a little bit of an underdog coming in, being the 11th seed. So we had a good win versus Spot and Fat Baby Funds in that first round, and then each round between Celsius and DNTK, they were really close. I think I only won by maybe a couple percentage points. Like it's been a close, been close every single point along the way. I think maybe one of the things that really hurt in the matchup is that there's some talk about the demo day for Palantir. I'm a Palantir shareholder as well. It's a great company. I think they have a lot of promise and potential, but I think that really made the difference. I tweeted at Jack a few times. I was really hoping Jack would give me a retweet, to really help pull Square through. But it was a really good run. Congrats to Runaway Investor and all the Palantir folks.
Absolutely. So now talk to me about this next matchup, because when we did our podcast and we chatted about Square, people were saying we were talking all the time about Bitcoin. So now you still have Bitcoin in this, And now Bitcoin's going up against PLTR. Bitcoin's obviously on a massive run right now, probably around 63, 64. Haven't checked it in the last hour or so. But how do you feel about that? Bitcoin, I think a lot of people thought was going to be this dominance, just dominance in this matchups, and it was pretty close with Ethereum, and then it nearly lost at GameStop, and now it goes up against Palantir. While Palantir could be on a hot streak, right? It could move up a few dollars. This is going to be a 2-day match. This is not going to be 2 day. The finale will be a 2-day matchup. This is going to be on Friday, starting Friday morning at 12, running till 12 the next morning. So talk to me about that matchup of Bitcoin going against Palantir. Does Bitcoin dominate? Does the Palantir crowd come out? How does this run down in your mind?
Yeah, I've been really surprised how much Bitcoin has struggled. I'm obviously, from anybody that listens to the podcast, that Square podcast, I'm a big Bitcoiner. I think one of the things that maybe there's maybe some selection bias, here. Like, I don't know how much the crypto crowd has been in the tournament. So maybe there's just some selection bias there where they haven't gotten, they like to be, maybe a little bit more in the outreaches of society. March Madness maybe not be the typical coiners deal. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the thing. I would be really surprised if Bitcoin doesn't win the coming matchup. I mean, they definitely be my pick. It's really hard to go against a $1 trillion asset versus a company like Palantir that's valued in the tens of billions. So I think I gotta go Bitcoin, but it's been surprising that how few of the Bitcoiners have come out.
Absolutely, I hear that. So unfortunately, so right now Square is glitching a little for me, so I can't always see all my speakers, but I'm DMing with them, and Guru Examiner is in the building. I believe that he's able to speak, even though I can't see him. Guru, can you hear me? Can you speak?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Okay. So give me, I'll intro you real quick. So for those who are unfamiliar, Guru does some really cool stuff. He's been working on us on the Market Madness tournament, essentially doing analysis of 10,000 tweets on each ticker that is competing, and then making predictions on who is going to win those matchups. So you did some predictions for these Final Four matchups. I hope that you have that up in front of you. Maybe you can speak to how those went down in comparison to your analysis, and maybe what surprised you from the winners of those matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It shows that I'm muted, and I don't know why it's doing that. But yeah, no, like Gav said, we ran about 10,000 tweets for each ticker, ran sentiment analysis on them. Bitcoin versus GME, we had Bitcoin winning 56% to 43% GME. PLTR, we had 56 to 43. Facebook to Baba, 63 to 36. And the one that absolutely shocked me was Pershing Square versus Buzz. We actually had Pershing Square winning based on Twitter social sentiment, 92% to 7%. Which, yeah, no, absolutely shocking upset in that sense. Underdog all the way. And I was actually pretty surprised with how close Bitcoin versus GME went. Bitcoin had something like 4 times as much positive sentiment as GameStop, even knowing that, people got pretty invested and pretty into that stock. So, yeah, there were definitely a lot of interesting things that came out of that.
So now looking ahead to these next matchups, I know that you haven't done your analysis yet, but you're a social sentiment guy. You're constantly looking at these things. Let's talk about this Facebook versus Buzz matchup now. Are you expecting, you didn't see that high social sentiment around Buzz, but it surprised you. How does that factor into your thoughts on how this matchup goes down? And maybe just, any thoughts to the actual fundamentals and how those will factor in?
Yeah, well, I definitely see Facebook taking Buzz out. That's just solely based on the numbers. Same with Bitcoin versus PLTR. I think, there's all kinds of hype behind Bitcoin right now, and there has been for quite a while. And fundamentally, I was actually pretty surprised as well, and I know I'm going back here, but Facebook versus Baba, and I don't know too much about Alibaba's. All I know is they've gotten in some hot water recently about, possible delisting or something like that. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. I'm sure some people around here know a little bit more about that, but how close that matchup was pretty interesting to me for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely fascinating to me as well. And that fact that GME was tying Bitcoin in this. Fat Baby Funds, I want to bring you back into this. Talk to me about your thought pattern because you were there doing some retweets kind of at the end and you were talking about this. What's going through your mind when you look up and there's 20 minutes left in the poll and GME has 52%?
I mean, I just can't believe that GameStop is pulling it off. But the Bitcoin came out late and really swung the vote. And I guess there's just all the meme investors follow you, man. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Looking at it, GameStop shouldn't be anywhere close to Bitcoin. GameStop is a joke. It's a meme. It's a meme stock, but there's not a lot to it at that point when you see it's up 52%. But that's when you start retweeting and start sharing it like crazy because you can't let Bitcoin lose to GameStop. If Bitcoin's going to lose to Palantir, Square, a real stock, I'm down. I get it. But you can't let Bitcoin lose to GameStop. It just can't happen.
Absolutely. I can relate to that. And I will say I am followed by many of the meme investors. So that could have been factored in. I got the follow back from Coked Up Options, John W.B. Rich last night. So that kind of made my day, but may have influenced as some of his were coming in. So I just called up Tim to speak with us real quick because Tim always makes really passionate cases about specific equities or names on here. So Tim, we got 4 names left. Who's your champion? You've picked a couple beforehand. They haven't always worked out, but you've been very passionate about them. So I want to hear of the 4 left: Facebook, Buzz, Bitcoin, and PLTR. Who's the one that you would get behind that you could like write a thread on why they're going to win this?
So we have Facebook, Buzz, PLTR, and what was the last one?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Who's facing off? Sorry, I'm not by my computer
Yeah, no,
right
no
now.
worries.
So
Yeah, it's we have Bitcoin facing off against PLTR and Facebook against Buzz for a spot in the championship each.
okay. So I'm going to go Bitcoin and Facebook.
Okay. So what's your case behind? Give me the case behind Facebook first.
So, Bitcoin, I was shocked, and I sent out that tweet with Lamonte earlier, right when there was like 24 minutes left. I was shocked that GME was ahead of them. Just knowing that, social sentiment with Bitcoin is very, very popular as well. But I was shocked there. Bitcoin has so many things going for it in terms of appreciation and everything going on with Coinbase and digital wallets and things of that nature. I'm a huge bull when it comes to Bitcoin. So obviously, my followers kind of swung the vote there, so I was happy about that. Just kidding. Facebook, I think the thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think Facebook. I think all the fangs are probably going to be the first to kind of recover, and then the hyper growth stocks will probably follow thereafter if we don't have any inflationary type of scares. I think Facebook's the prime reopening stock. It'd be interesting to see how they kind of maneuver their way with the iOS 14.5 that's going to be coming out. That's kind of changing their data collection advertising strategy. But I'm a huge bull of all the FANG stocks. I love all of them. I own all of them pretty much outside of Netflix. So I think Facebook and Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin's going to take the championship.
There's definitely a lot of people who are hoping Bitcoin take the championship. So just for those who are unfamiliar, this was our first year running this Market Madness tournament. So not everybody, unfortunately, was able to get brackets done. There wasn't a ton of attention beforehand, but we do have a $10,000 grand prize. So somebody is out here hoping that their bracket does not get busted because a lot of people pick Bitcoin to win this thing. However, of course, it is based off of who scores a total amount of points. So you're going to benefit from having Bitcoin in that championship, but it's not the end all be all. Now I see Lamonte's in here as well. I'm sure he's a busy guy, but he's our Bitcoin champion. So if at any point I can get him up here to speak about Bitcoin, I always have him, and Caleb as well. But Luke, I want to throw it back to you because we heard your side of Facebook versus Buzz. Now give me your thoughts. I know you got the laser eyes going on of Bitcoin versus PLTR. PLTR has proven to be strong here. It beat Square, it beat Tesla. What does Bitcoin have to, I guess, do to get past it? is it going to be an easy cruise, easy sailing, or do you see it putting up a strong fight?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough question. Bitcoin and Palantir. I mean, those two companies, well, not two companies. One's a currency and one's a company. But when it comes to those two, as I just noted, they're completely different in the aspect that one is really a digital gold in essence. That's my view of Bitcoin. It's a store of value in a digital form. And the other is a software company, a data company that really does an excellent job, has a strong management team. It has plenty of growth ahead of itself. But on a sentiment basis, both of those are very cult like. Similar to some other cult like names that we've seen, for instance, Tesla. It's very much all sentiment based investing. So I take a look at Bitcoin and Palantir, and I think Bitcoin, when it comes to sentiment, definitely has the upper hand. It seems to be running the show right now, especially when it comes to popularity and what people think about it in its future. But Palantir is also on a sentiment basis very, very strong. A lot of people believe in Palantir. There's a lot of people that have just spoken in the past few minutes that, they all speak highly of Palantir. So overall, if I had to pick one, I'd go with Bitcoin because I do think that Bitcoin is going to, sentiment wise, it by far, I think, outranks really anything so far. And I think it's why it's in the position that it's in. But I would not be surprised to see Palantir with an upset because it's another one of those names, as I just noted, it's cult like. People love it. And I think that's going to be a hard decision for a lot of people who are going to be voting between the two.
Absolutely. Now, I don't want to just talk about those four stocks. I know people want to hear some analysis on some others. So I'm going to mix it up a bit and we're going to pull back to the one that really could have been in this final four if it had just done a little bit farther past Facebook, and that is Baba. Baba just had a massive day the other day, which was really propelling them, and they were winning for a large part of that matchup. Parrot, I want to throw it back to you. Not sure, how much you've looked into it, but what are your thoughts kind of on Baba from that social sentiment perspective? Maybe why it got passed by Facebook, and just any thoughts on Baba going forward if you've ever looked at it maybe as an investment?
Yeah, so I really haven't looked at them as an investment too much. I just think from social sentiment, I know there's a little bit of I don't know, a little bit. I just think they're more popular, right? I mean, they are a social media company, so you would expect them to gain the social sentiment for this tournament.
Absolutely. And I just want to hear a little bit more on Baba because I think Baba's a fascinating purchase. I think I've done a podcast on Baba. Not sure. Might be on my Spotify. I'd have to look up a little bit more. I've been several podcasts deep. But stock market news. Any thoughts on Baba versus that Facebook match? Have you looked into Baba at all as an investment? I'd love to hear just some more on Baba. And I know I can always probably go to Tim, get some nice tidbits there.
No, yeah, I actually own both of them. I am a big fan of Facebook and I'm a big fan of Baba. Which one I'd probably go with Facebook. Maybe that's why it squeaked by. But yeah, no, Baba, for me, it's always been such the promising business. Everyone knows the underlying thing. For me, the risk has always been, the regulation or kind of like the lack of oversight and, not being able to fully trust the numbers. The underlying company is amazing. I think that for reasons Facebook got by it, I think that the timing of Facebook's run up was really kind of crazy and really opportune for the competition. I think that social sentiment really I think personally social sentiment is a laggard behind the stock price. Some people could think otherwise, and I think that kind of helped Facebook get through it a lot. One side note, we were talking earlier, and I was just kind of information that dropped while this, while we've been on this Spaces. But Kathy Wood actually just dropped her buys for the day, and they bought into the Coinbase IPO today, which I thought was kind of funny.
Ooh,
I
let's
want to know
break
if
that
anyone had
down.
any opinions on that, or maybe Wolf, if you had any
Uh,
opinions on that.
I'll give my opinions after some of my speakers. I definitely was looking at the Coinbase IPO for a bit today. Fat Baby Funds, any thoughts on the Coinbase IPO?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I have a hard time looking at the Coinbase pricing and looking at Square and deciding not to purchase more Square and buying Coinbase instead when I'm looking at it. To me, Square just has a lot more going for it. overall. But part of this, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. I'm Bitcoin advocate. 99% of my crypto is in Bitcoin. So naturally, I'm going to say Square's just fine and only selling Bitcoin. And I think it is. But if you're looking at some of the other coins, and Coinbase has a lot of other things going for it that Square doesn't. But if I start to look at sort of the finance end of things and everything that Cash App is doing, I have a hard time looking at Coinbase and paying that price. There's no doubt Coinbase is an amazing company. It's just, is it worth the price you have to pay right now for it? I worry with a lot of these IPOs, when the bull market ends, their valuations are going to come way, way down, and you'll be able to get some great companies at a much more reasonable price than right now.
Very interesting. Tim, any thoughts on the Coinbase IPO?
Yeah, no, I think Coinbase is a very interesting company. I actually have all of my crypto through Coinbase. It's been a pretty frustrating experience just from a UI, UX perspective, and just from a reliability perspective. I've always had issues when there's high volatility in the market. As far as the numbers and valuation, I had like a 325 number that I was willing to go for with just a short-term like swing strategy. It got close to that, but it just kind of got way out of hand when I'm looking at all these other alternatives with a better ecosystem, a better future, more optionality, like Square, PayPal, and the others. And I just see, from a long-term perspective, I just see, where is the strategy to kind of expand services? And I kind of see them as, they bought a financial services firm. I forget the name of it, maybe a year back or so. So they're trying to fold in all these other types of products, but I think it's going to be a lot more difficult working, to keep stacking products as opposed to, Square and PayPal, who have that social ecosystem, both on enterprise and, with digital wallets. And just so I'd rather just be investing more into my core convictions of PayPal and Square. But I think Coinbase, if it drops below 300 or 325, I might just enter from a swing perspective.
Very interesting. I was keeping an eye on it as well. Saw Lamonti getting some fun screenshots as the price ran up, so I appreciated those. Dropped to about a low of 311, where I was eyeing it, similar to Tim, around that $60 billion market cap. That's 50 to 60 billion was where I was comfortable taking an entrance point. I did not do an entrance. I'm always, I'm never rushed with these things, to be honest. When things IPO the first day, it's never been my strategy to try to jump on it right away, try to find it. I like to give it a few days, maybe sometimes even a few weeks to find some of its footing. For example, you can look at Airbnb, right? It ran up that first day. I think it's a fantastic company, but I did not want to purchase it at that price. It ended up coming down, becoming a lot more affordable. And then once you buy in at that point, it then went back up. So that's my strategy is a little bit more wait and see. Parrot, I wonder if you have anything on that, or maybe just in general, Parrot. Do you ever look at IPOs, fancy new companies IPOing? Do you purchase it then, or are you more of a wait and see?
It really just depends on the company and when the price action when they come on board. So it just reminds me of first of all, I actually put a limit order in at like 255s a day just as kind of as a joke, but you never know, it might fill, but it didn't. Um, but but it really just depends. Like I think when Unity IPO'd, it was it was a big red day in the market, and it actually just hung around the IPO price, and I think I got in at like 79 on IPO day, and then it took off, and it's actually come way back down recently. It's had a pretty rough go of it the last month or so, but I'm still, I don't know, 20%, 30% up, so not too worried about it. So I like to watch IPOs because you never know. I actually like to see them come out on big red days because they tend to not run as bad, and you get a chance to get some pretty good prices.
Like to hear that. So I just got a question from the crowd, and honestly, I'm going to take a few questions from the crowd because I don't want to exhaust too much market madness talk. So if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and tweet it at me, tag me, and I will go through some of the best, or DM me. It's easier if you just tweet it. But I did get a question, and that was on Clove. I played Clove a little bit a while back. I actually bought some options on it. I also was trading it a bit. So Guru, I'll throw it to you first. You pulled it up. I wonder if you have any thoughts on Clove. Maybe you had any ideas on what it's doing, or maybe if you looked at any social sentiment.
Yeah, no, that is definitely one that we see pop up on the kind of on our trending tool pretty often. I know I'm pretty sure I got that stock like when I first signed up for Robinhood years ago. I think that's the stock I got. And yeah, it pops up a lot. One thing that we're really noticing, and somebody kind of brought this up, is that social sentiment, or social sentiment, typically speaking, does seem to kind of come toward the end of a run. That's something we're really noticing a lot. When I start seeing a stock on our trending tool, which essentially means that a certain amount of people are talking about it, that is usually a great indication that it's a good time to short that stock. I mean, just looking at, I'm paper trading some of these to kind of test out that theory, and I've only had one loser GBR, which is -2%, and the other one's average, 20 to 30% gain, right? So once you start seeing a stock become trending, all of that, that's usually a good time to sell. And Clove has definitely hit that trending spot a couple of times, which to me indicates a peak.
Interesting thoughts. Yeah, once Chamath started selling his Clove shares, that was a pretty big warning sign to me, personally. When the person who's going ahead and helping is bailing, it's not something I'd love to see. But just wanted to also welcome Jonah. Everything going? Got a feeling swole, refreshing some CDLH.
Yeah, I'm just doing some leg extensions at the gym right now.
Okay. Well, are you free to speak?
Yeah, I can talk as long as you guys don't mind some grunting.
Oh yeah, no, it really brings, it adds to the conversation. See, this is the stuff that you don't get on regular Twitter, right? You only get this on, so you're going to hear Jonah doing leg extensions while he pitches stocks. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't exist. So, yeah.
Plus, my growth stocks have been getting their asses kicked, so I got to take some frustration out. No, go for it.
I have to ask, Jonah, real quick. It's been the question I've been waiting for. What's how much are you benching? I think this is what the crowd wants to know.
So I don't max out anymore. I can do 225 for probably 25 reps if I had to.
Okay. Like to hear that. That's more than I can do, more than I weigh. So that's great. Okay, Jonah, let me bring you into Market Madness real quick for a couple questions and just to get your thoughts. So your challengers are unfortunately out. DMTK, it had a nice run there. There were a ton of votes in that matchup versus Square, but it lost to Square. And then Square lost to PLTR. So walk me through that series of DMTK losing to Square, and then your thoughts on Square then, which just beat CLH and DMTK losing to Palantir.
Oh, I didn't even know we were still doing Market Madness. I have no idea. I'm not even following it anymore. After my stocks got kicked out or lost, I lost track of the whole thing. So I might not even be the right person to even talk on this call if you guys are doing Market Madness still.
It's all right. No, we actually covered most of the Final Four, so I was switching to a little bit more market talk. In fact, since we have Jonah on, if anybody does have questions again for our speakers, feel free to go ahead and tweet those out, DM those. I'm happy to ask questions throughout the rest of this. But since you're here, I always appreciate hearing from you, and I don't get to have you on my Friday ones because it's a little bit early for you. So maybe you could just tell us what you've been looking at this week, what you've been trading, just kind of what's on your mind.
So, I mean, I'm getting my ass kicked in small cap growth stocks. I knew they were going to pull back from March or late February. I certainly didn't know they were going to pull back this far. I mean, like I posted today on Twitter, Mohawk has pulled back to the 100-day moving average, which is never fun to watch happen, or especially if you own the stock. But, given that it's growing at 100%, pulled back to the 100-day moving average, it's going to be profitable this year. I like the risk reward at these levels. So, I mean, I pay very little attention to the rest of the market. I don't give two shits what the Dow does. I don't give two shits what the S&P or the NASDAQ do. 99% of the time, I'm focused on my stocks. So I spend my days doing research, listening to conference calls, talking to analysts, talking to other fund managers, talking to management, talking to investor relations, doing my write-ups and all of that. So I try to drown out as much of the noise as I possibly can, because if I'm right in my stock picks and I have the conviction to hold them, 2, 3, 4 years, then I believe I'll be right in the end. So I just have to ignore the short-term noise, because it's that noise that's going to shake you out of your stocks. So that's just me. I mean, other people, if other people want to, I don't know, try to trade the markets in the short term, go for it. I mean, I'm still having a pretty decent year, even though I've gotten my ass kicked the last few weeks. I don't know if the shorts are purposely going after, small cap FinTwit stocks. It sort of feels that way, or maybe it's just a coincidence. But yeah, these last 2 weeks have not been fun, but I'm not really focused on the last 2 weeks. I mean, I just gotta look ahead.
Absolutely. And also, there are a few
Hey,
people
Joe.
requesting. Oh, did you have a question, on comments? Okay,
Yeah,
not sure if I. Oh yeah,
yeah.
go
Well,
go ahead.
appreciate it.
Oh,
So I
Parrot,
was,
Parrot, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no problem. So, hey, John, I just want to wanted to say thanks for jumping on that thread with Enthusiast Gaming today. I look forward to your talk with them on Monday, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that should be good. I don't know anything about the company, so I'll have to do some DD over the weekend and try to learn as much as I can so I can ask some good questions.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be good. I'm excited about them listing on the Nasdaq. It should bring some attention to them and hopefully get a spike in their stock price.
Is it a gaming company?
Yeah, so it's like a e-gaming company. So they social media, YouTube, e-gaming. They've got like 100 or over 1 billion viewers, followers. So it's pretty. They're pretty big.
So what, do they host esports tournaments?
Yep. Yeah, they host
Okay.
tournaments. They have a tournament. They have teams. They do like YouTube channels. Um, they're in a little bit of everything. They got their hand in everything. So
And what, do they make money on advertising, or do they charge fees to enter the tournaments?
a little bit of both. So they have, I think their biggest area for improvement is going to be advertising, most likely. They do have some paid services. They host tournaments, like I said. So they're in a little bit of everything. That's probably their biggest downfall right now is they're not monetizing their user base as well as they can. But I think once they do, I think that's when they're really going to take off.
What sort of a market cap do they have?
They're just under 1 billion right now.
Okay. And they have some revenues though, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. No, I mean, I'm a few people DM me about that company over the last couple of weeks, so I guess this is a good reason to jump in and do some DD on it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Appreciate it.
Got a couple more questions. So also real quick, to the people. So two things. One, if you request to speak, unless I know you, I'm probably not going to make you a speaker. I only really make speakers on my calls people who are I've Zoomed with before or I've chatted with. So feel free to DM me, but I probably won't make you a speaker unless I actually know you. That's just how it goes. But hey, give me a follow and interact with me for a while, and let's chat over Zoom. I do that every day with like 5, 6 people. I love meeting new people. I love interacting. I love networking. If you run a cool business or something, like I said, to those who haven't been on, my name's Gav Blacksburg, COO at Wolf, and I also run the Twitter, so chief Twitter user. That's my main job. So my job's to network and to be on here and interact with y'all. So if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the spaces, throw me a follow. You should also be checking out my speakers. Everyone up here is the people that I learn from every single day. These are the people that I utilize for due diligence, that I follow diligently. So I do have a couple more questions. Oh, also, please don't DM me for what kind of stocks are great buys right now, because we want to be a little bit more specific. Maybe you're looking at a specific area, an industry, a sector. That's where we can hone in. But Jonah, this is a question which is pretty clearly, I think, thrown for you. And it is, among Mohawk, Futu, and Upstart, which one do you have the highest conviction on?
Oh boy. For like what's the time period? What's the time frame?
Let's say long term. So 5, 10 years.
Yeah, I'd say Upstart definitely. Futu is a Chinese company based in Hong Kong, so you just never know what the future holds for Chinese companies trading on U.S. exchanges. I mean, that's always a risk. Upstart, for some people that don't know, it's AI-powered underwriting platform that essentially licenses their technology, their model to large banks, or not large banks, but small and medium-sized banks. So those are like your regional banks, your credit unions. So today they actually announced that they brought on another partner bank. I believe it was First. I forget. I think it's First Financial Corp, something like that. It's a bank with about $16 billion in assets, $9 billion in the loan portfolio. So, I mean, the company just raised guidance for 2021 to $500 million in revenue. That's probably conservative. That doesn't include any contribution from their acquisition of Prodigy, which gets them into the auto lending space. And they've basically only been doing personal loans up until now. So, you know, you take the personal loan business, you add on the auto lending business. I got to believe that in the next year or so, we're going to get either mortgages or small business loans or credit cards or something else. So, I mean, I'm still very bullish on Upstart just because there's almost a endless number of, credit markets that they can get into and banks that they can partner with. So I just think that they've proven that their model is clearly better than the traditional FICO score model. So it's just a matter of time before hundreds and hundreds of banks are using Upstart to do their underwriting. So, I've been adding the last few days as the stock pulled back again under 120. Today it got down to like 103 or 104. I added more. So it's, both my personal portfolio and my social capital fund. It's basically I think it's like a 10% position in my social capital fund. And I think it's 15 or 16% in my personal.
Wow. And we were talking about them last Friday a little bit more. So that's going to be a pretty common one I think that we're going to be talking about. Really quick, one more follow-up question on that for a personal matter, actually. So Max Bezenko is in here. And if anybody hasn't seen, Max is also a Twitter space host. He hosts financial fitness spaces, which are just numerous amounts of speakers. I think all my speakers can pretty much vouch for how great Max's are. So make sure you check out Max's stuff. And we're going to have a big Twitter space this Sunday. But next Sunday, I'm going to be speaking at one of Max's spaces about Futu. So, Jonah, maybe you can give me your bull case on Futu real quick so I can have some material to work off of.
Yeah, I mean, so Futu is sort of a combination of Robinhood and Charles Schwab for the Asian market, the Chinese market, like I said, based in Hong Kong. Last year, the company grew revenues at about 215%. This year, they're projected to grow revenues at least 115%, although that's probably conservative. I posted something on Twitter a few hours ago asking anybody to try to find me a company that has better or stronger fundamentals than Futu, because there's not many. I mean, there's obviously a lot of companies out there that are growing at 115%, but Futu has, I think it's like 56% EBITDA margins and like 47 or 48 net income margins. So, I mean, that combination of insane growth with insane margins keeps me really, really bullish on the stock. Today, trying to think. So the stock, the stock has actually held up pretty well the last couple of weeks. Back in the big growth pullback, it did come all the way down and actually dipped below 100 for like 2 hours. I think it got down to like 99, and then it rebounded pretty fast back up into the 150 range. It's kind of settled into like the mid 140s the last few days. I mean, I still think this is a $250 stock by the end of this year, just based on those fundamentals. So I'm still super bullish. The valuation to me is very, very fair. I think the stock today was trading at like 25 times EBITDA with 115% top line growth. I mean, I'm not sure if there's another company out there that can claim that either. So, and then a lot of people try to say, oh, do you trust these Chinese companies? Not all of them. I mean, I would say I don't even trust most of them. But I think stocks like Futu are the exception because of who their early investors were. So I posted the top shareholders on Twitter earlier. So the number one shareholder is the founder of the company. The number two shareholder, and I think it's like $5 billion of stock, is Tencent, right? Everyone knows Tencent. I mean, they're the largest outside shareholder in Sea Limited as well. And then after Tencent, you have like Sequoia, Matrix, General Atlantic. So those were all the VC firms that invested in Futu. So, if this was like just some random Chinese company that didn't have these sorts of outside investors on the cap table, yes, I'd be a little concerned or suspicious. But having Tencent as the second largest shareholder gives me a lot of comfort that the numbers are legit. So I'm not worried about Futu. It's my biggest position right now in both my funds.
Very interesting insight there. I'm going to come back to you for one other, but I do want to throw it over to a couple other listeners real quick, just to hear if there's any other thoughts on Futu. Tim, Stock Market News, Parrot, anybody got any thoughts on Futu? No takers. Okay. So it's
Sorry,
all good.
yeah.
I'm a big Futu guy. Parrot, you got anything?
No, I don't. I don't really follow them that closely, so no, I don't.
Yeah, no worries. For those who aren't super sure, Futu, very interesting kind of brokerage model where they're kind of like, from what I looked into, a lot of like Reddit crossed with a brokerage. There's some really interesting stuff going on there. I actually found them through Benchmark. They're an account that posts. They do like weekly newsletter. One of the few that I subscribe to. I think I subscribe to like 3 newsletters: Benchmark, Gannon and Breslin's newsletter, and Morning Brew. Sorry. Oh, and Jonas, of course, Jonas. How could I not? But yeah, got to be careful with that, right? Can't be saying I don't subscribe to Jonas and I have him on the call. But I don't worry, I avidly read. But I have one more for you, Jonah, and then I'm going to throw it around to a few of my other speakers to finish off because we're going to do about 10, 15 more minutes. And that is IPA, because I'm getting all these DMs about IPA. If you listen to IPA, I know you interviewed the CEO. What was your takeaway from that interview, and how are you feeling about the stock?
Yeah, so I usually try not to do much with biotech because biotech is typically it's just too risky, and especially early stage biotech is very binary. If they don't get if trials don't go well or they don't get FDA approval, those early stage biotech stocks can drop 70, 80, 90% pretty quickly. I mean, IPA is a little bit different because they have two business. So there's two parts to the business. There's the CRO business. CRO stands for Contract Research Organization. So they do a lot of contract work for biotech and pharmaceutical companies. And then they have what's called their Talem therapeutic side of the business, which is what Dr. Bath helped start when she came over. So she's the current CEO. She came over about 3 years ago. She helped start Talem, and Talem is essentially IPA building their own antibody pipeline. So they're doing antibody discovery, building their own proprietary pipeline, and then looking to license those antibodies out to the big pharma and biotech companies in like a royalty deal. So those deals would typically include an upfront payment and then some sort of a royalty anywhere from I've heard 4% to 10%. So I mean, IPA is still a very small company. I think the market cap's around $200 million. So if they hit it big with just one of those antibodies, this stock it could jump 50, 100% pretty quickly, depending on the size of the deal. Or they could obviously get acquired. I mean, that's always an option, I suppose, as well. The areas that they're really focused on right now is oncology and then COVID. So this is a Canadian-based company, so I always have people from Canada in my DMs trying to pump up this company because they love it and they love Dr. Bath. And anyone that watched my interview is probably very impressed with her. She is extremely credible. I mean, she's like a molecular biologist by trade, so she knows her shit. She's definitely the right person to run that company. But they are excited right now about some of the antibodies that they're finding to help fight these COVID variants. So for people that aren't familiar or haven't been following this, I mean, this COVID pandemic is not over yet because we have these mutations or these variants that are now popping up all over the world. My dad's boss actually died a week and a half ago from one of these variants. So this is a problem, and the vaccines cannot, like the companies that are creating these vaccines cannot keep up with the variants. So we need companies like IPA to come up with these antibody cocktails to help fight these variants until we have new vaccines available to us. So one thing that I learned during my prep calls with Dr. Bath was the flu vaccine that we get every year, or some people get every year, is actually different every single year. Because as the flu travels around the world, it actually mutates over and over. So by the time the flu gets back to the United States a year later, it's already mutated multiple times So these vaccine companies have to keep creating new flu vaccines to keep up with the mutations. And that's sort of what we're going to probably be living with for the next God knows how many years with COVID-19. It's going to keep on mutating over and over, and these vaccines are not going to be able to keep up with it. So we're going to depend on these antibodies and these cocktails to help save us. So, I mean, I'm bullish on IPA for that reason. Like the CRO business is kind of, that's like the stable business that pays the bills. And then the antibody or the talent therapeutic side of the business is where we might get a home run.
That was a fantastic breakdown. I really like that. I was looking at them myself. A lot of people have been talking to them and about them to me in the DMs. Tiny market cap right now, 217 million. But definitely going to play a bigger role as we're trying to push through COVID here. So real quick, a pause, and then this
is what I'm doing with IPA. I have a 1% position in both of my funds. That's it. I'm not going to keep adding to it. I'm not going to average down. I'm just keeping around a 1% position. So if they end up doing a big deal and the thing doubles or triples, then I'm happy. And if the stock drops 15%, it's not going to really matter to me one way or the other. So, I mean, it's one of these stocks that I do like what they're doing, and I want to support their efforts. And I think Dr. Bath is a phenomenal CEO. So, I mean, this is not one of those stocks that's going to end up a 5, 10, 15% position in my portfolio. No way. But I feel pretty comfortable with maybe 1.5% at the most.
Appreciate the transparency there. So real quick, before I move on to a couple of other questions. First off, I just want to for tuning in. And I think we hit over 400 listeners on this space. That's the most that I've seen yet. I'm up over 100 community. I love bringing these people together. There's so many people in here beyond the speakers. Just shout outs to Dylan, Max, Lamonti, Nick Green, of course Rachel Rod, Josh, Tom K for tuning in. So many people that have made my life so much better, my every day. To be able to chat with you and interact with you, it takes it to the next level. And we're not stopping. This is just the beginning. Whether it's myself, Max on our spaces, we're going to continue to bring value to you. It's going to be entirely free. One of my goals, maybe a raise of hands, who's interested? I've been thinking about this. Would be I'm thinking of making just like a Google Calendar that you can join, and then you'll just see the spaces when they're on there. Follow along. You don't have to see the posts. It'll just be on there. It'll be 2 or 3 a week, and maybe just emote if you're interested. I'm thinking of sending something out like that with like a Google Calendar where you could just see you there, so all your stuff would just come up. I think that would make life easier. So we'll see how that works out. Oh, I might have lost Jonah when I started talking about Google Calendars, but Tim, I saw a comment from you that I do want to circle back to. So one more time, just appreciate the love. I have to say, to speak on Twitter, but it's been a blessing, and I love chatting. So Tim, I know that you just DM me. You wanted to talk a little bit more about coin. Would love to hear from you.
Yeah, just quickly, I think it's important for people to realize, and I'm not an expert in this field, but looking at ARC,
Jonah, sorry, Tim, Jonah, you might need to mute out. I think I hear the bench press getting wiped off.
Grunting, huh? There we go. Yeah, just to kind of give you guys maybe a reason why ARC would invest in coin, especially at that amount. It looks like they purchased, $250 million worth of coin today. An ETF wrapper sometimes has restrictions on alternative assets. I think Kathy Wood had done a large presentation on why they can't buy Bitcoin because they can only keep a certain amount of the gains if it appreciates. And I believe it was, and don't quote me, but like 8 to 10%, and then they wouldn't be able to actually be able to take in the rest. And so they have to kind of invest in alternative or not alternative assets, and that's why you kind of see them investing in MicroStrategy and Coinbase and things of that nature, because they can't buy crypto directly. So I just kind of want to make that point. I don't think it's been talked about very much, but that might be a case for some of the ETFs out there buying up coin. It's just because they can't buy crypto directly due to alternative asset regulation.
Absolutely. Real quick, I have Lamonti requesting to speak. I think I have to remove someone from being a speaker. So Sorry, Twitter investors, I just took you off. But if you want to talk afterwards, I'm always happy to bring you back, my boy. By the way, the Final Four for Market Madness is sponsored by RetroSend. You can check them out in my bio. Very cool financial apparel, sending me some very interesting stuff. They got some Stratton Oakmont stuff, some Goldman stuff, some Bitcoin launch party shirts, Wall Street Yacht Club. So I'm very interested to check it out. Some fire vintage vests. So check out RetroSend. You can see them in my bio. Just some cool financial wear, very high quality, very well tailor made, will last you a long time. So if you like finance, you like being fun, wearing fun stuff, check them out. But Lamonti, glad to have you on. Lamonti's been the champion for Bitcoin since the start. So, you're requested to speak. Whatever you want to talk about, floor is yours.
Yeah, I thought what Tim said was a excellent point on ARK's purchase of coins. Sometimes you have these ETFs, and it's kind of like an investment policy statement where you're outlining for the individual holders that you cannot invest directly into crypto assets. But with coin, it's been so interesting because you had private placement valuations around, I want to say, $27 billion. And then you had the preferred price when it was going onto the secondary market around 65 billion. And then somewhere around that 100 to 120 billion at the peak. But it's interesting because as that's going on, you had like Riot Blockchain and some other areas. I know Bitcoin's up substantially in the past week relative to prior weeks, but they kind of thought that, by Coinbase going public, it may take some share away from like these mining companies, which I think it's irrational to be honest, but it's interesting because then at the same exact time, you have like Jay Powell talking about how crypto and crypto-like equities are just a vehicle for speculation. So I don't know. It's an interesting space, and there's just a lot of moving parts right now with it.
All right, man. So you were given a lot of retweets this morning. Talk to me about your thought. What's going through your mind when there's 20 minutes left and GME's leading Bitcoin?
That hopefully enough people see my retweet to vote for Bitcoin.
You might have been.
Yeah, I didn't think GameStop would have. Go ahead.
I was just going to say you might have been the swinging votes there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people. I mean, my account's so small, but it was a nail biter. I didn't think GameStop would have the effort to even make it into a tie, and the odds of it being a tie are slim to none. But you did have GameStop going up 20% today, roughly from trough to peak. But I don't know if this means it's a resurgence of sentiment or what, but I think that was the hardest matchup that we could have been through. And I think when me and you talked in the past, I said that might have been one of the hardest ones aside from Ethereum, if it came to that matchup. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think the next matchup will be easier than GameStop, but I guess we'll find out when the votes come in.
Yeah, we'll have to see with PLTR. We got some big PLTR bulls in my comments, especially Runaway Investor, who unfortunately is having dinner right now, but might be on next week to chat, and he'll be hoping to take a victory lap, so we'll see. But Caleb is on, and for anyone who didn't listen to last Sunday's Financial Fitness, Caleb just was freaking dropping truth bombs. Whatever you want to call it, like quote after quote after quote. I mean, check out Caleb and give him a follow because I've only been talking with Caleb for 3 weeks, and I've already learned so much. It's ridiculous. So Caleb, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Futu. Talk to us, man.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been on a few of these now, and I just want everyone to know my name is actually pronounced Caleb. It's not
my
a big
fault.
deal.
Oof.
No. I'm just throwing it out there, just because if people are going to address me by my name, that's all that it is. No big deal. Yeah. So Futu. So Jonah and a lot of people hold Futu, and every single thing that Jonah said about Futu is right. I can't find a company that comes even remotely close to the growth, both in revenues, margins. I mean, they're actually making money. It's incredible. And I'm actually in Tiger, and this has been a fucking roller coaster. And I have been in a few companies this volatile before, but I mean, going from 40% up to 40% down, I finally hit flat today, but the chart is looking very, very constructive. So I'm just going to hold on because I was in GSX, another Chinese company. I don't even remember, a year, 2 years ago, whatever. I let the noise and the volatility bother me too much. I sold it at like 35 flat. It went to like 150. I highly recommend looking into Futu. Like Jonah had said, they're growing crazy. And if anybody caught that at $100 a couple weeks ago, 50% in a few weeks, that is nearly impossible to do. So I would suggest each person just go out there, check out Futu, do some research. Don't just go buy shares. But I've been trying to find a company to even touch these numbers, and I can't. And I look through a lot of different stuff, and that's actually what I've been doing like the last hour, and I simply can't. So I just wanted to reiterate what Jonah's saying. That company is rock solid. The people who back them are solid. I'm not worried about, corruptedness or whatever like that. It can happen, but you got to take it with a grain of salt. I didn't come on here to talk about anything else. I just wanted to reiterate what Jonah was saying. Jonah is awesome. I'm glad I found him, and he's found some real winners. And I'm telling you guys, this Futu, this is nuts. So do your research. I'm in Tiger right now, but I would be looking at a spec in Tiger or Futu if I was gonna do anything right now. But not advice. I'm not wanting anybody holding anything to me. Check it out. I've had a couple of specs. I usually do a half, or for me, I suppose it'd be my average size holding is about 6%. So a spec is usually 0.5%, very, very, very small. But sometimes they work awesome, sometimes they don't. But just wanted to throw that out there, reiterate what Jonah was saying. That's it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, listen, anybody who wants to be a Futu bull, yeah, you can be my friend because I've been in Futu since 45. So we're definitely taking that up. Should have edged out a little bit of 200. We'll see. Crazy numbers that they have going on here. All right, I'm bringing back up Twitter investors. I'm going to you, but we're going to wrap up. So I just want to give each just to talk for a second. So stock market news. You went first. What are you looking at this week in the market?
Yeah, so I think that right now, the Coinbase IPO took a lot of my mind today. And I think that one thing that I find really fascinating and I'll be watching that I haven't seen too many people talk about is kind of the difference between the Coinbase market cap and the Binance market cap. I know it's a little different with stock and crypto, but kind of, just where they are and how close they are, and how Coinbase right now is at about like 85.7 billion and Binance is right below it at like 84.4. So there's super close. I want to see how that plays out for the rest of the week.
I like that. Guru, are you still on here?
I am, yes.
Fantastic. I hate that it doesn't show it to me. What are you looking at rest of this week? Any stocks on your mind? And Tim, take care. See ya. Guru,
So,
floor is
I mean,
yours.
one of the things that we're doing with these sentiment plays right now is I'm doing a lot of the shorts on the short side, and those really just pop up really quickly, like either on one of our tools or on just become trending, right? And then you look at the price and you go, okay, this thing's about to dump. And so I mean, a couple of things one that I bought in today, a short on, was CHFS. I'm up like 3 or 4% on that one, but I think with the price movement it had, that might have a little more to go down. But still holding my gray and SOS shorts. Those are up over 20% each. So gonna keep holding on to those and probably exit those pretty soon. But it's really hard to tell with the social sentiment because it happens so fast that it's not a planning game. It's kind of a jump in when you see the right opportunity.
Appreciate that insight. And also to my DMs, I appreciate the love. I'm getting a lot of questions. I'm not going to be able to ask all of them tonight because I do have a meeting coming up. However, feel free to drop them in there. I'll try to interact. If I have any thoughts on something that you ask, I'll get it to you. And also, just a reminder, I'm going to have another Twitter space this Friday at 5 p.m., another loaded panel. We're going to be chatting about the market this week. And honestly, if you have questions that you ask on there on Friday that wants to answer, I might ask it then. So just, keep interacting. And been really just enjoying the interactions here. And that's all I want with this community, doing this all day. So Twitter investors, you're back on. I know that we haven't had a chance to hear from you yet, but anything that you're looking at this weekend standing out to you?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to monitor for the memes, the Coinbase IPO. I'm actually going to look into that Futu. That's kind of one of the first times I'm actually hearing about it, but I'm going to look into that, do some research on that, and then yeah, thank you, Caleb and Parrot. I'll take a look at that. But yeah, I'm mostly monitoring the Coinbase IPO and just a lot of different things going on in the crypto markets this week.
Cool. Parrot, you want to say anything else about Futu? Any other words for any of your positions? I haven't heard you talk about MGNI in a little while.
Yeah, they've actually been basing kind of around $40 a share and kind of been sitting there for a while. So it's getting interesting. I actually bought a call on them on my trade account today because I think they ought to be bouncing here pretty soon. At least I hope so. Um, I really don't have a lot of cash in my account, so really just watching for, opportunities to maybe trim a little bit and really trying to review the ad tech market in general. It kind of took a dump, over the last month, so everything looks like it's basically basing for the most part. So trying to evaluate all the ad tech space and looking for some opportunities to maybe jump on a few new companies. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely been writing a lot of that ed tech area. We were even talking about what would the Parrot Ad Tech ETF look like. Have any favorites for you emerged in that area?
I mean, especially ACUIF, Acuity, I posted about them, I think, yesterday. I'm really bullish on their new Illumin platform. I think especially the opportunity or the TAM that it opens up when they start going directly to advertisers, especially these small mom and pop companies. It's really pretty intriguing. Magnite, of course, I'm very bullish on. You just mentioned, just in general, Roku's coming out with, positive news almost every day. So, just the whole industry looks pretty good. There's just a whole lot of fringe ad tech, or I should say fringe, but small ad tech companies that look intriguing. So, I'm just trying to go through them all and see if any of them look better than the others, because I really think the whole sector is going to be positive for 2021. So it's just a matter of trying to pick out the ones that are going to run further than the rest.
Definitely. I've been looking more into ACUIF as well throughout the week, just continuing to monitor it on a daily basis. Haven't started a position personally, but maybe if there's a nice little downturn or something, I'll scoop in, maybe set some limit buys, or I don't know what to call them, limit buys. But Caleb, I know that you were kind of looking at it too. Anything else kind of on your radar throughout the week as we kind of close out?
Yeah, it was a really interesting day. I mean, I, in my day job, I'm able to actually watch markets and stuff like that just because I'm on my computer anyways, and I don't really know what was going on today with the sell off, but there was some really really good starts there to a lot of my names. I pretty much went all in last week as I had posted at the end of the week. I've been incredibly impressed with SE and Square and Pins. Uh, I tweeted out earlier 7 names I'm following really, really closely. I think that Square is going to run really hard this year, and that's because Bitcoin obviously has been huge, and people are buying Bitcoin through Square. And whether or not that's profitable or not, they've shown it really isn't. It adds to the bottom line, right? It's bringing people into the doors, and then as businesses open, all the point of sale check readers and that thing. I just see Square having what should be a really good year. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been adding lately, so it could be hurtful, but I just feel like Pinterest, that's like one of the hottest stocks right now. And as long as you're following fundamentals and what they're reporting, I mean, I think Pinterest is going to go gangbusters. That's why I've been adding so heavily. It's my biggest position. But a lot of what I focus on, like a company like Twilio. Why do I like Twilio? Their operations, like the underbelly of all these corporations, Airbnb, Lyft, banks, all this stuff. That's why I like companies like Twilio, and you should follow those. Like I think Twilio is the number one highest SaaS dollar-based net expansion rate. I mean, for every dollar that's spent, they bring in $1.40 back. This is just off the cuff here, but Those are the types of things I'm looking at, and in Roku and ad tech. Like CTV is supposed to grow 60% this year. If you haven't looked at these types of companies, connected TV, ad, I still don't think it's too late. Everything that I look at, all the earnings calls, they're always talking about advertising and ads in the chip sector. I've been saying the same. Technology is only possible with semiconductors and chips. People were talking shit to me last year when I was saying that Micron was starting to look good again. That's all people were talking about the last 2 weeks. So think about like what makes these companies run, and a lot of times those are going to be your front runners. So I mean, I'm just staying on top of the companies I tweet about. I'm not trying to go into the weeds. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity. Days like today where we're up and then we drop big. I kind of tune that out. I'm not really too worried about the day-to-day volatility. Just invest in the best companies you can find. Keep doing your homework and research like I talked about on Sunday. And learn from your mistakes.
Oh, let's see. Can you hear me? Am I getting a crash?
All right.
You know?
Yeah, now we hear you.
Okay. Hello? Oh, Twitter Spaces. You glitch on me.
Here, man.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right.
Yeah,
I
we
can't
hear
see
you.
anyone now, but we're wrapping up anyways, so hopefully this doesn't crash on me. So I should just say that right. And then also, Jonah, I just want to let you know that I have like 16 DMs with questions for you. So we're just gonna have to do a whole nother space at a time, and I'm just gonna interview you because there's like too many questions to ask Jonah. So that'll have to happen. But Jonah, we talked a little bit about what you're looking at for this week, some of those other stuff. So I guess to wrap it up, any final thoughts on maybe just where you see growth stocks going over the next few not I don't want to ask you for the few weeks, but kind of how you're feeling as we go through April, which is typically one of the best months, right? Then there's May, and just like what your thought pattern is, and maybe if you could just tell us maybe what your next write up is going to be on. You don't have to give away too much, but just a little prelude. Jonah, I can't hear him. Can anyone else hear him?
Jonah's busy benching.
Oh, sorry.
There he is.
I was just grabbing food out of the fridge. What's going on?
Yeah, so Jonah, first off, I was just saying that I have like 17 DMs with questions for you, so we're gonna have to do a whole nother space. Where I'm just gonna ask you questions from the crowd.
Fire a couple off.
I right now, unfortunately, I can't go through all of them because I do have another meeting to actually plan out another Twitter space. We're going to be doing a financial literacy space championed by myself and at Hero Dividend, Dividend Hero. So that's going to be happening. But Jonah, I'll definitely be in touch with you because we're going to set up another. We'll definitely chat because it sounds like people want to just ask you a lot of questions. But I just wanted to ask you, two questions was one, just your thoughts on some of these growth stocks over the next few months. I know you care about the long term, but just maybe some of the stuff you see affecting them. And then two, maybe you could give us a little.
Just given the pullback that both of them have had, if people are looking to start a position in either of those companies, I can't believe there's much more downside risk to them. In terms of my stocks, I mean, I'm loaded up with my favorites, which is Futu, Upstart, Mohawk, DermTech, Celsius, ClearPoint. ClearPoint, a stock that I wrote about a couple weeks ago on my Substack. They're doing real-time MRI imaging for brain surgery, DBS, which is deep brain stimulation, and drug delivery. And I believe I've heard numbers of 50 to 100 drugs right now that are in trial that would eventually use ClearPoint as a delivery system. So I remain very bullish on that company. I still like Transmedics. We have to get through FDA approval, which should be coming in the next couple months. We already got the positive vote from the panel. The stock has not reacted well, but once again, this is one of those stocks that you have to be patient with, especially when you're dealing with the FDA. And then after we get past this FDA decision, then we'll get into OCS liver and OCS for DBD, which is donation after circulatory death, which is way bigger than DBD, which is donation after brain death, which is what this last hearing was for. So the story for Transmedics is still alive and well. People just have to be patient. Nothing wrong with dollar cost averaging down. I think Transmedics might be dead weight for the next couple months until we get to the FDA decision.
and then we'll figure out which way the stock is going from there. Another stock that I like that I wrote about most recently is Intrusion. Today, a short report came out on the stock and took it down 15%. And I'm not surprised, small cap stocks are easy targets for shorts. Like I posted in my stock twits room today, shorts are only writing these reports to make money. There is no reason they would write a short report other than to make money, and they're making money two different ways. One is they either have a short position in the stock, or they bought put options, or they're being paid by a fund that has a short position. That's it. So if you read a short report, you have to know that one of those two things is happening. They either have a short position, or they're being paid to write a report by a fund that has a short position. Otherwise, they wouldn't be writing those reports. So, the report that came out today for Intrusion was 95% dog shit. They talked about insider selling, but they forgot to mention that the insider selling is happening from family members that inherited the stock after their father died. The father was the founder of the company. So, of course, after he dies, they inherit all the stock. Of course, they're going to start selling it on a schedule. But, of course, they don't mention that in the short report. So I'm still very bullish on the stock. The company's done 30 years of DoD work. They have a massive database, and now they're using that database to package it up with AI and sell it as an enterprise product. They just landed a huge deal with Kimberly-Clark, another deal with Lippert Manufacturing, and they just announced yesterday in a press release that they already have 50,000 seats on this new Shield product, which equates, if you do the math, the average seat is about $20. So 50,000 times $20 a month times 12 months a year, that's $12 million right there. Add that to the $8 million of DoD work that's basically guaranteed every year. They're already at a $20 million run rate, and that's without adding any more deals from their pipeline. And on the last earnings call, which was about a month ago, the Q4 call, the CEO said and these are his words exactly, in my 42 years of being in the technology industry, I've never seen a pipeline build up this big, this fast. So those are his words. I've talked to investor relations. I've talked to the analysts. I've talked to employees at the company. I'm still very bullish. If all of them are lying to me about the company, then so be it. I can't control that. But if they're all being honest and straightforward with me, if the analysts, the analysts that I talked to, Scott Buck from H.C. Wainwright, he said he thinks the company can do at least 25 million this year. The company said they think they can do at least 30 million. If these 50,000 seats are legit, they're basically already at 20, with 3 more quarters to go. So I'm bullish on the company. The shorts can suck my what. Like that just happens. If you're going to invest in small cap growth stocks, you have to be prepared for volatility, which is normal. You also have to be prepared for these short reports, which are just going to come out once in a while, whether you like it or not. And you have to be prepared for secondary offerings, because these companies, if they want to keep growing at 50, 100%, they have to raise capital in order to support that growth until they're profitable. So, and that's why you need to have a long-term investment horizon. And that's why you need to hold some cash so that when you get these pullbacks because of short reports or secondary offerings, you have some cash to buy the dip.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jonah Lupton. That's some fire, Jonah. That was the details right there. That was what I was hoping to hear.
Nothing gets me nothing gets me more fired up than a bullshit short report. I will say the short report on LifeMed, so ticker symbol LFMD. I was supposed to interview the CEO tomorrow, which was scheduled 2 weeks ago. I don't know if he's going to still do that interview. I emailed him today to see if he would confirm it, and I never got a reply. That short report is a little bit more concerning. Like there's actually some meat and potatoes in there that make me nervous. I have a very, very tiny position in the stock, and that's only my social capital fund. That was down 25% today. And like if some of the stuff in there is legit, then that company has some stuff to worry about. But that's why I'm hoping to do this interview so that the CEO can, publicly refute that, the stuff that's in the short report. But my guess is he's going to bail out of the interview because his attorneys are probably going to tell him to, because they're probably going to want to prepare some sort of a, legitimate, compliance approved response, rather than going on my, like doing an interview with me and having it posted on YouTube. That's probably not the way that the company wants to handle it. So unfortunately, I probably won't get to ask the questions I want to. But, if anyone owns the stock, I would recommend reading that report, because there is some stuff in there, including, if they really have unlicensed doctors writing OTC prescriptions, that's not good. So that's the sort of stuff that the company's going to have to clear up. Now, if they clear it up and prove that the short report is factually incorrect, then the stock is clearly oversold and probably bounces 30-40%. But it's just hard to know if or when that happens.
Absolutely. Short reports and Celsius energy drink fueling Jonah Lupton since 2020.
So that's a good point. So these shorts are wrong more often than they're right. They were right on Nikola. They were wrong on Shopify. They were wrong on Peloton. They were wrong on Celsius. They were wrong on Grow Generation. I could probably name 10 or 15 more stocks they were wrong on. So like these shorts, half the stuff that's in these reports is it's either complete lies, or it's, they bend the facts, or they, manipulate the truth, or they talk to, some former disgruntled employee. Like that's the kind of crap you find in most of these reports. But every once in a while, one of them is correct and brings up a legitimate red flag that you should, pay attention to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Powerful stuff right there. Thank you, Jonah, for doing that. And there's obviously, Jonah, we're going to have to do another space soon, because so many more questions and people that want to hear from you. Real quick, while I have this space, just because I have this opportunity, Kaushik, so nice. I hope I'm saying that right. Kaushik, I love your content. Fantastic to have you in here listening. Also, just want to shout out Mr. Tom K, board member at MongoDB. Love that software. Appreciate the follow. Appreciate everyone who's given the follows. Closing in on 4K. Hopefully, I was at 3K less than a week ago, so hopefully we'll get there. So love everyone that's in the community, and we'll keep it moving. Just gonna follow up with the last words from a couple of speakers. So Parrot, just wanted to go, anything else that you wanted to close out? Anything else you wanted to say on the call? Any stocks you're looking at? Any short reports that are fueling you and helping you to bench 225?
I wish. No, but I will just say that short reports are a great opportunity to buy in a lot of cases, but like Jonah said, you got to be cautious, because every once in a while they do hit the mark. So, and I wanted to ask you where we are on the heart emoji for this Twitter Spaces.
So I have not actually been able to give that yet. I've been waiting for my official meeting. So for those who are listening, I'm a feedback person for Twitter Spaces, but they told me, this was very rude, they told me I'm a power user yet. So I don't know what that means, power user, but I got to get in a meeting with a couple of them, but I've been given some feedback, but we're going to try to get a heart emoji and a thumbs up emoji for Twitter Spaces. That's the goal. That's my push. If I can do those, I can die a happy man. So Parrot, I'll do my best.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate you putting this on.
Yeah, no worries. Luke, anything else you wanted to close out with?
Not much. A few spaces, I'm watching, I'm studying. I think there is a little bit of opportunity still in aerospace and defense. It's a sector that was, has been mostly out of favor in the past 12 months, and it's just starting to come back. And then I'm getting back into the banks. I'm studying a few of the banks, trying to decide if I want to take a position. On a valuation basis, purely, a lot of the banks still, they're sitting quite low. And they're a bit enticing to me, but they have not yet won me over. So I continue to dig through those. But when it comes to actions this week, not a terrible amount, mostly sitting tight with the cash I have. I've been wanting to add to Boeing, but unfortunately, it's just not come down low enough for me to add to my position. And it's already, I would have to break a few rules of mine to increase the size of that position. But overall, just sitting tight, a lot of choppy action. So if an opportunity comes by and a few names I'm watching, I'm willing to pick them up. But at the moment, nothing's come across the desk that I'm excited about. So pretty much just sitting tight and watching the markets.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up with two things. The first is he's actually on here. So Dividend Hero, I have to hop to Zoom with him. We're going to be planning a financial literacy space. Check out Dividend Hero. Should be up near the top of your screen because he's got tons of followers. Broke through 10K, my man, doing big things out here. So we're going to be planning a financial literacy space. We're going to try to get all different aspects. We're going to have a super diverse group of speakers up there. So really excited for that. Also, as y'all know, Josh Meltzer is the man. He is one of my analysts at Wolf Financial, and he records all of these Twitter spaces. I am telling you, this man is going to have to buy more data for that phone. That last Twitter space that we recorded was like 4.5 hours on Sunday, and that thing took up like 16 gigs on his phone. But he is sacrificing for the rest of y'all. And I actually am uploading that to my YouTube right now. It literally just finished. It's processed. I think it's actually live on my YouTube. The FinTwit recording. It's 3 hours and 40 minutes. Josh took 17 pages of notes during this thing. Okay. It's at Josh_Meltzer, Meltzer. He's on the call right now. He's recording. He's taking some notes. We're going to publish the notes also from the FinTwit space. That's all coming. So really just thank you to everyone who makes this happen. This is not just me. This is an ecosystem. I have speakers that come on. They give so much great content. It's valuable. It's free. It's amazing. I have people that record, take notes, structure this. Thank you to Twitter Spaces, the people that actually respond to me, to my comments, and help give feedback. And I can't wait to do this all again. So literally put down on your calendar, 5 p.m. EST on Friday. We're also going to do a couple at 8 p.m. EST next week because I know that makes it easier. I'm going to try to get maybe like a little thing going with Jonah because I already have like so many questions that people have asked for him. So we're going to make all these things happen. Make sure you're following the Wolfpack. We are just going to continue to grow together, and we are going to make that money. Long-term generational wealth for the win. Thank you to all of my speakers, and I will see everybody very soon. And, of course, I'll probably be tweeting 100 times tomorrow. So take care, everybody. Have a great night.